Hi, well here's a quick look at my Challenger SP.2, the clip wing special. We did the walk around on my single seat, so just to have a look at the dual seat and the differences between the two. Still with the 26-foot wingspan, but the chord is increased on the dual seat, taking it from 120 square foot of wing to 143, and that gives you that extra lift capacity or capability for the passenger. Running two people, still with the faired struts and the faired undercart, the fairing on the front wheel. I've got them off of the mains, and I'll point that out shortly. I also run the Rotax 503 dual carb, dual ignition. I have an intake silencer on this, which virtually eliminates all that induction noise that you get from the two-stroke. GPL, angle starter. As with all the Challenger have put the motor nice and low, down out of the breeze, so you're not getting any drag, and it runs the belt reduction drive, so which is, apart from being quiet, it also allows you to run a 5-foot or 60 by 44 Tennessee prop I run on this one, which is good. The fuselage a little bit longer on the two-seat, still has a dorsal fin but not a ventral. Instead I have the extended main fin, that's about 12 inches taller than on the single seat. And it gets rid of those yaw issues that you can get a bit with Challengers. Totally, actually. I've filled in between the rudder and the fin, the elevator and the tail plane, and also right the way along the ailerons. I tried all sorts of self-adhesive tapes and was never really happy with them. They start to come off in hot weather. So I've used the Stitz process on that, gone through, painted them in, and you don't have any worries. The Challenger, nice and strong, plenty of struts, and I think it's a +7 -4, so we have to be up there amongst the strongest ultralights on the market. I run 15-inch 6x6 tyres with one piece, aluminium rims, and the Black Max hydraulic brake system down in there. Fuel tank, same as the single, 38 litres in behind the rear seat. A 6-foot 200 kilo or 230 pound rear passenger can sit quite comfortably in the back. It's full dual control, so there's the stick for the rear and the rudder pedals there. There's plenty of room. The fuselage is about, I think, 12 inches wider than it is in the single seat, and that is of course to allow for the rear seated person to get their legs through to the rudder pedals. And come down in here, little glove compartment, stick, master cylinder, push to talk buttons, little glove box. So as it can be flown from the rear seat, I've got a suspended floor in here, so whoever's sitting in the front can take their feet totally off the pedals and sit quite comfortably. In the front seat, I've made a different panel to the other one. Single switch for the ignition, mag 1, mag 2 both, and start, landing light, fuel pump, fuel transfer. I have a little ferry tank that sits on the rear seat, and you click the fuel transfer on. Where it says leg there, that little red light starts to flash, and you transfer fuel from the ferry tank to the main tank. Rotax tacho, slip ball, airspeed, vertical speed, hour meter, GPS 3. There's the altimeter, compass, voltmeter, ICOM. It's a handheld, wired directly into the 12 volts with external antenna. The 100 that you see is a percentage fuel gauge, so as the fuel burns off, you have a little key down on the side here that you can read and see how much fuel you've got left. Dual exhaust gas temps, dual cylinder head temps, and a moving map display in the middle. That now has all the maps of Australia in it, so you've got no excuses for flying through restricted areas or anything like that. Same with the harnesses. Good harness setup. I've got the doors on because it's winter and it's cold, but it flies equally as well doors on or doors off. The different nose on this one. This has the duckbill nose with, I've integrated a 40-watt Cree pencil beam light into the front there so as it's not hanging out in the breeze. And this one has a boot lid, so you can get in the front and I have my tie downs and the tyre repair kit. The battery right up the front, and of course your rudder pedals and everything. It just makes it easy for daily inspections. It is a bit awkward getting up into the front of the single-seater without the boot. Coast Guard stripe across the front, very defined. The Australian emblem there with the kangaroo, emu, and the shield in the centre denotes all the different states in Australia. So there she is. Performance figures, very similar really to the single seat, apart from the climb. You'll climb solo about 8 to 900 foot per minute. Dual, that's down to 6 to 700 foot per minute, depending on conditions and the day. Cruise speed 65 knots at 12.5 litres per hour. 75 knots gets you up to about 15 litres an hour. 80 knots has got you up around 80 litres, but 18 litres per hour. But it's working too hard. The motor's revving too hard. You wouldn't want to sustain that for any period of time. 5,600 RPM, which is right on the sweet spot for a Rotax 503. That's 12.5 litres. Takeoff distance, 2 up, 150 metres. Solo, 100 metres, 100 yards. Landing, about the same for both of them. Of course, a little bit more wind. If you're flying into a wind or taking off and landing into a wind, those numbers come tumbling down. Soaring, if you're into soaring, solo, it's just wonderful. That extra 23 square foot of wing, which takes you up to 143 over the 120, you can mess around up there in the thermals with the motor off for a long time on the right day. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The stall speeds, dual 35 knots, solo 30 knots, and even then it's nothing too dramatic. It just starts to mush and carry on and rock a bit, and then the nose goes over and she starts to fly. If you want to pull the stick right back and full throttle and just drive it until she drops, it will drop a wing down, but even that's not vicious like some I've flown. It just sort of drops the wing over and you're recovered and back to level flying within about 150, 200 feet. So there you are, that's my Challenger SP.2 in Australia.